You'd put in your CRM, but then you go, okay, well, I'm looking at this process. Of this process, this is the biggest pain point. Can we automate that piece?
Hi, I'm Khyati Pal, and this is all about CRM. On this episode, we're going to be focusing on recruitment sales, the difference between an ATS and a CRM, data, AI, and automation, from email campaigns to SEO. My favorite topic, all things CRM. We've got Jamie Hart with us, David Connolly, Neil Curry, Stuart Johnson, Mike Watman. Welcome, Christy.
Would I spend £50 to go to this conversation?
No.
No. And until the answer is yes, then change them.
Exactly.
I know marketing isn't able to be measured. I was like, excuse me? Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
In fact, it's probably one of the most measurable.
Someone described to me once that recruiters spend their place in two zones, the finding zone and the filling zone.
Yes.
And the trick is to spend more time, as much time as possible in the filling zone, because that's where the money is.
3 pieces of advice you would give to anyone starting their journey, currently shopping for, let's just say, maybe even a new CRM.
To find out.
Today on All About CRM, my guest David Connolly from Firefish and I are going to look at the basics of a recruitment CRM. We're going to look at the difference between an ATS and a CRM and how leaders and teams should approach their data, their processes, their sales, marketing, and customer service functions to unite their business operations using a CRM. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mad About CRM. This is our first episode where we're going to discuss all things CRM, the foundations. And my first guest is David Connolly from Firefish. Hi, David. How are you?
Very well, Khyati. Thanks for having me on. How are you today?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. CRM is something that I am very passionate and obsessed about. And I think in recruitment, I've noticed that there is usually not enough understanding and clarity when it comes to the difference between CRM and ATS and how to use it and how to maximize the value that you could potentially derive from it based on, different business cases. So, to begin with, what I'd really like is for you to perhaps just give us an understanding of the difference between your typical traditional CRM and the ATS and how recruitment CRMs are basically combining the two to give recruitment agencies more arsenal in their kit.
Absolutely. So that was a really good point you touched on there. Around there not being the understanding between differences between CRM and ATS. A lot of the time when we speak to recruiters, that word is very interchangeable. For me, though, the difference when you look at an ATS, it really just focuses on the process, being able to track your applicants through the recruitment process, so shortlists, interviews, jobs, placements. And what that results in is really a set of tools for being a transactional recruiter. So got a job, get the candidates in, make the placement, move on to the next job. Next set of candidates, next set of placements, and you just keep on that hamster wheel, so to speak, of being transactional. However, the CRM really helps you shift your focus towards relationships. There's a clue in the R in the name of CRM, isn't there? Where it's giving you a lot more tools around, so it gives you the core of the process to be able to track your applicants, manage your process. But it's giving you all the other tools to allow you to build relationships with your candidates and clients. And what that does for recruiters is that helps them become partners. So you can become a longer term partner to your candidates, a partner for the whole career, someone that really trusting as an advisor to partner with them to help them move their career in the direction that they want, and partner with your clients to be that recruiter that's their point of call for the exclusive jobs, the jobs that they won't give out to other agencies, and you become their trusted source of recruitment services. And the CRM allows you to record all that relationship and manage that relationship. And I'm sure we'll touch on it. Most importantly, automate that relationship at scale.
Absolutely. And, I think the whole thing around CRM and ATS, to your point, it's it seems there is some confusion around its capabilities is because the use of the system is quite reactive. So it is only used to react to certain things. So if there's a job and if, you want to find candidates and then move said candidates, and that's why ATS and CRMs are used interchangeably, because in a recruitment setting, the system is only ever used to deliver rather than build. And I think that's where perhaps there is not enough understanding. But, having said that, in the last decade even, or I actually probably even in the last 5 years, the CRM itself has evolved substantially. But the CRM and ATS combined in recruitment, the capabilities have evolved a lot, especially with AI and automation and low code features in the last 24 months. So what would you say are the key trends, both from a demand perspective and a supply perspective, that are driving these changes?
Absolutely. So the journey that recruitment technology and CRM technology in general has been on in the last 10 years. So 10 years ago, I was working in recruitment. I used a couple of different CRMs during my time there. And the difference between what those CRMs were like then and what's available in the market now is astounding. I really think that one of the biggest trends to recognise over the last 10 years, though, that there's been real democratisation of the recruitment market. Due to technology and the move to the cloud has been a huge thing that's empowered recruiters. So 10 years ago, your established agencies had the monopoly on the technology. So you would need to have, server-based CRMs. You'd probably need to have people in your business that have the expertise to look after that. And it would be very difficult to kind of have that set up yourself as a single user or a small business. That's really changed over the last 10 years. And what that's really allows a lot more independent recruitment businesses to start and compete on the technical level with the bigger players, which I think has been a huge thing over the last 10 years. The other thing and that all feeds into data. So what we're going back to when we're speaking before is the CRM being the centre of your business. For any of the really exciting new technologies to work, you have to have that baseline of quality data, so that allows businesses to really understand their processes, and when they start automating, the automations work correctly. And you give the AI is going to be good as the data that you're feeding it. So having that kind of CRM at the centre of your business as a single point of truth becomes more important than ever with recruiters and technology moving forward. So yeah, I think businesses having to encourage users to properly adopt the CRM and gain benefit from it is going to be more important than ever.
When you talk about benefits, so there are, we could spend all day about the benefits of using a CRM and even the ATS features and, putting them together to not only build great relationships, but even talent pools, databases that you can rely on, do more targeted marketing, for example, but also just, to your point, a central source of truth, even if it's not the only system that you use in your organization. The fact that different data feeds into that CRM, or the CRM data feeds into other systems, to be creating at least a trusted source of your insights. What top 3 benefits do you see? Because for me, it's very much around removing the silos in the business, and that's where the efficiency is immediately realized and a very positive improvement can be seen to the bottom line. But investment initially is required. But what are the 3 benefits that, perhaps you would say are low-hanging fruit that you could just go in, as long as you understand how to work your CRM or how to use your CRM, these 3 benefits are immediately realized in the short term?
Absolutely. So if you're able to use your CRM effectively, what you're really able to do is build relationships at a much bigger scale than you would be if you were trying to do it out of your own memory, out of your email inbox, out of an Excel spreadsheet. Because what you can do if you're working and you're using your CRM diligently and you're making sure you're recording your communications, you can have a much bigger network of candidates and clients that you can talk to confidently, that you can reference your previous conversations. I'm always a big fan in the CRM of noting as much as possible. So all the small talk that you're getting, if there's anything interesting, make sure that's in your notes. The next time you speak to that candidate, you can be, "Oh, how was your holiday to Cancun this year?" They'll be like, "Wow, that recruiter remembered that I told him I was going to Cancun 3 months ago." All that stuff is, you don't need anything more than notes in a CRM to do that. and it can help up your game massively. But yeah, avoiding data silos and getting a single source of truth is absolutely the biggest benefit for me. So having to have separate bits of data and have information living separately in this day and age of big data and AI is really going to start harming businesses. And even from a reporting point of view, the leaders that are able to have their data centralized and accessible will be able to make more accurate get more accurate insights into that data and make business decisions quicker. And that's going to be really important from a leadership point of view in terms of the CRM is being able to get a visual on what's going on, what's working, what's not working, what can be replicated to increase profitability. And finally, for me, I would say being able to automate your processes is going to be a really big one for the CRM as well. Getting what you want to do is use the tools in your CRM that are going to allow your recruiters to free up their time for selling time. One of the biggest sales lessons I've ever had, and one of the most important ones, is being selfish with your time for sales. So you've got your selling hours, you're on the phone, you're building relationships, you're talking to people, you're getting jobs, you're closing deals, all the good stuff that business leaders want recruiters to do. And the CRM needs to be delivering tools that free them to do that. So things like automating your CV formatting, so you're not spending 2 hours a day on words, moving boxes about, or your talent pools that you touched on, so you can build your target lists really quickly and automate that and access them forward. All those tools in the CRM are going to be really important to get your team engaged with early in order to get those efficiency benefits.
That's actually a really good point, because even though I feel like CRMs are now, as we discussed with AI and automation, are capable of so much, it's the foundation, like just investment in foundation. So how would you suggest business leaders go about it? Because, yes, being selfish with your, selling time, removing those unnecessary admin tasks, thinking about automation and personalization so that you've got consistent relationship activity happening, right? So when you talk to leaders, what do you suggest they do initially? Because I have found, at least in my experience, that when someone buys a SaaS platform, which is what the CRM is, they expect that by implementing that pretty much sometimes off the shelf, it's just going to resolve all their issues. So it's almost like a switch that they flip and all things should basically magically get fixed. And when it's not done, then, you've got frustrations, you've got lack of trust, you've got lack of adoption and whatnot. So for me, it's like when you do speak to leaders, and this is perhaps independent of any provider, but just from a systems perspective, where we are going to be using the CRM and ATS features, what do you suggest business leaders invest in and think about before they sort of go with any kind of CRM technology, or if they're rethinking their CRM technology? The top three things that you have to know that this is something that you need to invest in. This is something that will take time. And this is something that will realize in this benefit. How do you go about that?
Oh, absolutely. So it's really important that leaders take their teams on the journey towards new technology. It can't feel like it's being imposed upon the team and it's a negative thing. So from the start, they need to be in the early conversations, like we're thinking about changing our CRM. What do you like about the one we've got? What don't you like? What would you change? Even, is there any that you're aware of in the market? Recruiters, we see it ourselves. They go on our blog, they look at our stuff. They're not decision-making buyers, but obviously they're very interested in technology and finding those people in your business that can help you with that. It's going to be really good for buying in the rest of the team, and it's not just a leadership decision at that point. I'd say the other thing that's going to be really important for leaders to show is a really clear path for increasing billings using the CRM. At the end of the day, recruitment's a sales job. They're on commission. If you do this, you'll make more commission. We'll go along with it. But it needs to be really clear and easy to do that, and that needs to be planned out, that journey. So we're really big on that in Firefish, and we measure the kind of increase in net revenue per recruiter, and we've got some really exciting kind of stories where we're seeing like 30% increases in billings just by giving the recruiters those tools to make their life easier, free up their time, and engage with the market. Definitely say that's the three kind of main ones. I would also say it's important that when you're moving to a CRM, that you start sharing your success within the team. So every team, they'll have users that are champions of the system, and they need to be empowered to be able to share their knowledge and enthusiasm with the rest of the team and be given a platform for doing that, especially if a bit of technology is new. There'll be different people that will have different levels of expertise on the new different features, and that all needs to be brought together to upskill the team at the same time.
Typically then, so say for example, if someone's thinking about a new CRM, this is something that I often hear again, is, I'll think about it when the contract's up for renewal. And more often than not, it is left to the very last minute, which obviously creates this not bizarre, but obviously warranted urgency around data migration, around training, around implementation. And I think it has a huge and negative impact on adoption because no one's been given the chance to understand why, what, who, when, etc. How much time do you suggest businesses, and of course it will vary based on the size of the business, but typically, let's just look at anybody and an organization, perhaps. Let's go with the ones that are make up the majority in the UK. So let's just say 10 to 15 seats, or let's go all the way up to 30. How much time do you suggest organizations of this size specifically spend, in your opinion, on like thinking about CRM strategy, how it's going to work, their data strategy, what they wish to achieve from their CRM? Is it just going to be a sales tool, or are they going to sort of use it across the business, combining all departments, so that they have an understanding of how soon they need to begin this journey and not sort of leave it to last minute?
Absolutely, especially with a lot of providers requiring a 3-month notice period. If you leave it to the last minute, your time runs out super quick. So I would say you're probably looking at about 18 months, depending on the size of your business, to get the move and get it correct, but potentially 2 years. So you have to look at the whole picture when you're doing a technology change. And part of that, if you look at it, is 3 things: people, processes, and technology. So really your early stage, you're going to have to be looking at, what processes you've got in the business. Do you understand your processes? Are they mapped out? Do you understand how they fit with the CRM, and how the CRM that you have at the moment affects those processes? Is it a positive effect? Is it a negative effect? Do you want to replicate? Do you want to change anything? Once you've done that, you're going to have to find your champions within the business as well. So the people that are going to be managing different bits of the CRM, are they in place? Are we starting to understand the requirements? So once you've got that, you can start going to market more informed now around your requirements and actually find a CRM that fits your needs. And then for your onboarding, your migration, your upskilling, I'm of the opinion that migrations are made scary by a lot of vendors to put people off moving. It doesn't need to be that difficult. We can generally do a migration in a few weeks for a client. We just manage it all. You just need to make sure that you're happy your data's gone from one place and it exists in the same bit in Firefish it did in your old system. But what you're going to have to do is make sure you're getting training and adoption in enough time to do that. And you're getting your team, happy, confident. And that's going to be, I would say, probably a bigger job than the migration. So to answer your question, I'd say 18 months would be a responsible amount of time to start looking.
And I think migration is perhaps made scary purely because of lack of understanding of how current systems working, how data is being stored, how old the data is, what is important and what's not important. I think if you've got, say, for example, I don't know, I actually was speaking to someone, they're like, oh, we've got a database of 300,000 candidates. And I'm like, do you though? But those 300,000 candidates, I can bet the company didn't have the up-to-date information. Yeah. And it's almost like boasting about that quantity.
It's a vanity metric, isn't it?
Yeah. And it was probably maybe the old school way of doing things, where it was like, oh my God, I've got so many people in my database and therefore you should spend money with me. Whereas now, with the help of technology and the fact that we can validate it, variety of methods, you should have a much smaller volume rather than such a huge quantity. But I think that mindset of every data that I have, or every record I have, even though I should not probably be holding it because, GDPR, but the fact that I have all of these records and I do not wish to lose it, and I don't know how to make sense of this huge, large volume and migrate it to my new system, I think that creates chaos. And then also the structure of data. Who do you think should lead this migration and implementation? I mean, obviously as a vendor, you provide a certain amount of support. I'm sure you have like different packages of service as well, but as a vendor, you can only do so much in terms of your product and its implementation and migration. But the internal business analysis and sort of working with you to implement it in a way that works for the business, where in your experience you've seen that it's been done successfully and who led it within the business?
Definitely, you need champions. And you need somebody that understands the processes in the business. So somebody that's done recruitment, that knows what it's like to actually go and use the system and how the business works. You need to have, of course, you need to have buy-in at the top. So it needs to be a top-down change. So you need to have the leadership on board with that. To be honest with you, they're probably already super users before. You tend to find people, I think there's probably a certain type of person that just engages really well with technology, and whatever they were using, they would be the person to speak to about that. But to be able to identify them and help them build the relationship and have the conversations with your vendors is really important. But I would say it's a whole spectrum of buy-in. So you need the leadership to buy in, because that's who ultimately the business is going to follow. So if they are sitting kind of not bothered about the CRM and they're not putting the right behaviours in and the right management in to make sure it's being used properly, it's all going to fall apart. And then again, if it feels punitive to the recruitment team, they're not going to use it either. So I would say the buy-in and needs to be across the board. And then you need to kind of find the people that are engaging well with technology and willing to kind of share that and speak up within the business. And if we can find that, that tends to work well.
Yeah. Again, leadership buy-in is quite important for adoption and long-term usage and optimization of the CRM. But initially, even let's just say leadership has bought in, what are the 3 or 4 challenges do you find usually to do with CRM implementation and adoption? Because I feel like there might be people who work in recruitment or, on the operations side that are perhaps more inclined to work with technology and see the benefits because they are just naturally geared like that mentally. However, do you find sometimes or often that leadership might buy in and they might have some champions who can perhaps be contenders to lead this project and implement it and ensure the ongoing engagement? But what about the communication between leaders and this group of people? Because implementation is one thing. You might be very excited about the whole situation of like, oh, we're going to like a new CRM and therefore, it's a new investment. That momentum can help create the enthusiasm. But then what about the challenges that occur during implementation? And how do you think that leadership usually then works with these super users who perhaps might be leading the project? And then what are some of the challenges that you see, or people come back to your door knocking going, oh my God, like this is not working post implementation, that have more to do with optimization? Because CRM is not set and forget. It has to constantly evolve
Absolutely.
With business use, the growth plans and how they wish to scale. So 3 challenges before, so during the build and implementation phase, and 3 challenges that occur during the optimization phase.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the initial phase, when we work with the company, we've got a really clear plan of how we're going from A to B. So how we're taking your data and your technology you've got at the moment, and then how we're going to implement that for your business. And one of the biggest challenges that we need to overcome from our point of view is understanding the business properly. So we need to understand the market, we need to understand their processes, we need to understand the business goals. And we do that right up front. So even when we're talking to businesses before they sign the contract, we're starting to banding that. So we've got an idea of, okay, this is how we're going to help you because we know your bigger goals. So it's not just about, the nuts and bolts implementation of a bit of technology. It's also linked to the business. And then I think what you were talking about earlier is one of the biggest challenges with CRM implementation is if you've got 300,000 records and you just take them and dump them in your new CRM, you've got all the same data problems that you had before, but maybe just with a better set of tools and a nicer UI than you had. I always ask people when 300,000, when they say those numbers, how old is it? Okay, cool. When was the last time you phoned a dead person? Because that will absolutely happen, or they're retired.
Yes. or someone who's just moved on, changed their whole lives,
Yeah.
probably, you know, gone
Your
to another
recruitment
country.
database, maybe if you don't speak to them, you get maybe 6 months before they're, you know, they're starting to maybe change what they're looking for in terms of their career. They've moved on to different jobs. You know, if you've got a junior person that you haven't spoken to in 10 years, or probably a hiring manager that you're not aware of, or most likely a duplicate somewhere in the database. So big part for us is doing that data cleanup at implementation and making sure that they're getting a start with an effective set of data. So they've got the data, and then they've got the technology, and then being able to, once you've kind of gone live, take those business goals that we've identified during the implementation phase, and then actually being able to check in around those business goals. So we would be talking to our users saying, okay, this is what you said you'd set out to do. How are we getting on with that? What needs to change? What's supported? We can look at individual features as well and say, brilliant, okay, you're posting X amount of adverts and getting X amount back. Here's how the metrics have changed. And then be able to measure all that and then share it with the business helps people see the success. Sometimes you might not be able to see the wood for the trees. You're on the front line recruiting every day, but if we're, you know, helping you increase your billings and we can measure that, that's going to help people get bought in, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Okay, so then my final question. You have touched on this from like a recruitment and sales perspective, you know, the foundations. Have you seen a change in recruitment agencies wanting to utilize the CRM for beyond sales or your operations? So I know like in recruitment, it's one of those, you know, front end and back end, which is like, I don't like calling those departments back end, but that's just the terminology. With the operation side of the business, whether it be marketing, whether it be compliance, whether it be in-house payroll, or even any kind of like customer service department, have you seen a desire to use the CRM for beyond the sales component of the business? And if they were considering it, how would you go about advising them and telling them how to think about the usage?
Absolutely. I would say one of the biggest considerations that businesses are making when they're changing their CRM, again, it goes back to the central point of truth. They can plug absolutely everything into. So, you know, they want to be able to have something like Xero so they can send invoices. They need the details of the placements to be able to go out to their timesheet partners, for example, if they're doing contract, you know, anything around like managing compliance. All that stuff needs to be in the CRM, because what we're really helping doing is build efficiencies between your back office and your front office. So if you can, you know, we'll take the example of compliance, have your compliance people on your CRM. So when you go to make a deal, they get a note, say, okay, check this, make sure it's compliant. Here's the candidates, all the candidates' documents for you to review. That stops, for like to go back 10 years ago, when I did a deal, right, you'd be sitting on a Friday because you've left your deal to the last minute, because obviously I was the best recruiter ever that would do stuff like that. And I'd have to email, furiously copy and paste stuff into an email to the guy down in London that did our compliance, and then usually 5 minutes later I would annoy him before and go, are you still working? Yeah, can you look at this? He's like, I want to go home. No.
It's just excitement. You just want to create that excitement
so
in the end.
Having all that on one platform, you just make all the inefficiencies in that process you get rid of. So yeah, being able to absolutely plug everything you're using into your CRM is becoming really important for agencies. And then you're looking at kind of all different elements as well. So you're looking at plugging in your communications technology, your emailing, your instant messaging, your phone system. So everything that's happening in your business that's taking a bit of data is winding up in your CRM. So you get the paper trail. Everyone knows where everything is, so you're not annoying your finance person if you sent that invoice. Well, I can see it's been sent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big thing.
And then that probably comes back to the reporting and the leadership side of things. Once you get that, leadership can do some really interesting reporting because you've got that. Some people call it a data lake, but I don't know if it's grand enough to be called that.
I don't think we're at the data lake.
Yeah, we're not at that stage yet. But
in
you're
recruitment.
starting to build something like that. You know, you've got all your data and you can do
probably like a data lagoon. Or maybe like a data pond.
Puddle.
Yeah. Definitely not a data lake. I think that's very much an enterprise terminology, and we're not there yet. Definitely not with recruitment. But, you know, actually, I know I said that was my last question, but just to finish it off, what is one thing that you wish recruitment leaders would do differently when thinking about CRMs, based on your experience so far, your journey with, you know, selling and helping them design, implement the CRMs and use it and optimize it? What do you think is one thing that you wish, if you could just wave a wand and not necessarily something about generating revenue for you, but just overall industry-wide as a practice that would just make recruitment agencies use the CRM to its full capability. What is that one thing you wish recruitment leaders would do differently?
Give themselves enough time would be
Yeah.
a really good one. So it's
Do
much
not
harder.
react.
Yeah, as a vendor, it's much harder for us to help you if you're trying to make a CRM decision in a week. Because we need a bit of time to go through. When we're starting to talk about your CRM touching all the different parts of your business, to have a week and a couple of hours to look at a CRM, it isn't really long enough. It's more of a conversation. So yeah, reading their contracts and not getting caught out with the renewal dates is the first one.
Just look at the contract.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm sure it's happening, and it will happen more and more, but just embracing AI and the new technologies, I think, is really important for recruitment businesses. And it's really important. I say it to the team here all the time when we're using AI in our own jobs, is the more you use it, the better it will get. Because learning from what you're putting in, there might be a bit of AI you're using that's not giving you the results today, but it'll be much better in 6 months' time if you keep at it. So I think being able to persevere with technology is a really important thing for them, but then also provide the constructive feedback on that technology. I use a bit of analysis software for phone calls, and I'm Scottish. I've struggled with voice recognition my whole life, but it's AI based, and about a year ago it was terrible. Now I can make sense of it.
Really good. Yeah, I know. Oh my God. I think it's actually amazing with how quickly and clearly it just transcribes and generates accurate summaries as well, irrespective of accents, which is great, isn't it? Because that is a challenge that humans have, that not all are capable of understanding different types of accents. So it's like this AI little feature that just comes in and goes, actually, that's what this person was saying. You didn't miss any important details. Well, that was really good, actually. Time and mindset, isn't it? Time and mindset towards technology is what you wish they did differently. Don't we all? Well, this is then our message to all the recruitment agencies and leaders, that give yourself enough time and change your mindset when it comes to technology, invest wisely and see the magic. Great. Okay. Thank you so much, David. Really, really enjoyed talking to you. That was very informative. I'm sure people have taken their little nuggets of wisdom, and hopefully we'll see the change we want to see.
So thank you very much, Khyati.
See ya. Bye.